Hello and welcome to Sreenath Academy. Now we are going to discuss about the CBSE 8th Standard Biology, that is second chapter, Microorganisms, Friends and the Foil. So here we are going to discuss in detail in the second shift, and now we are going to discuss about the overview of each and every topic of the chapter, and thereafter we will go with each and every description in detail, and finally we will be summarizing the topics of the chapter. So the microorganisms are the one which cannot be seen by the eyes. So what we can see here, we can see the animals and other humans, but if we cannot able to see by our naked eye, those organisms are called as microorganisms or the microbes. So here the microorganisms are nothing but they are the friends and the foes which are generally helps the person to ease their life, and also they can be very infectious for the person. And coming to the first one, what are microorganisms? They include different kind of organisms like fungi, bacteria, protozoa, algae. They are nothing but they are the one which are microscopic in level, and they are microscopic and unicellular in appearance. So here we can see that they are majorly divided into 4 different groups like bacteria, fungi, and protozoa and algae. And they are the one which are very smaller and that cannot be seen. So they cannot be seen properly by the naked eye, and they require a special assistance by means of microscopy for observing them in the surroundings. And coming to apart from all these things, we also discuss about the viruses. So viruses are very microscopic and they are very smaller when compared to the other elements, and we can see that the whatever the viruses are there, those viruses are very microscopic and they are in the borderline between the living and non-living. So when they are outside of the host, they will be like non-living, and when they are inside the host, they are living in nature. So here about the Chlamydomonas, Spirogyra, amoeba, paramecium, and also bread mold and penicillium and aspergillus. So these are the different organisms. Some of them were belonging to Protista kingdom like amoeba and paramecium. Here the bread mold, that is Rhizophus, is belonging to fungi, and penicillium is also belonging to fungi. Aspergillus, which is generally appearing in the as a contamination of the onion, and Chlamydomonas and also Spirogyra. So they are the organisms which are generally belonging to fungal, that is the algal member. So here this is the appearance of the different kind of bacteria. Either they may be rod shape or there are different shapes in the bacteria, like we see in the screen. They are rod shape, that is the bacillus, or they may be spherical, or that is the coccus shape of bacteria. So here where do the microorganisms live? So generally if you are discussing, they all the organisms like bacteria, virus, fungi, generally they are present in our surroundings, in the soil and the air and also water. So they are the wide range of microorganisms which are generally present from the cold climate to very hot climate. And coming to the microorganisms which are generally they are around us, they can be the friendly microorganisms, for example, which are involved in degrading the waste, organic waste like vegetable waste and also human waste. They can be degraded by this microorganism, and means they are involved in removing the process of waste from the environment. Apart from that, they are also involved in converting the milk into curd and formation of alcoholic beverages, and also we can see they are involved in as we said, they are involved in the cleaning up of the environment. So some of the microorganisms, especially in the agriculture, we are using the microbes which are very much involved in the soil fertility. And coming to the making of curd and the bread, here we can see in case of making of curd and bread, we can say that the generally for conversion of milk to curd and also bread, they are very useful organism. Like in case of curd formation, it is a lactobacillus. In the bread formation, it is like yeast, that is especially unicellular fungi is the one which is generally on which most of the bakery industries will be relying. And we can also say that the commercial use of microorganisms, there are a number of commercial products which we are using day-to-day life, like using the products of the microbes like antibiotics and also vinegar, alcohol, and acetic acid, and also different kind of products can be obtained as a commercial scale from the microorganisms. Here we can see what are the medicinal use of microbes. Like antibiotics are the one which are generally formed because of from the organism, and they are the one which are generally used in this process of avoiding the bacterial and all other kind of contaminations. So here the vaccines are the one where we can see vaccines are the one generally they are the one, if you want to avoid the disease condition before the before it enter into body, it's only possible because of the vaccine. So vaccines are the one which are opposite to antibiotics. Antibiotics are the one which are the chemical substance. Either most of the time they are available from the fungi and actinomycetes. They are used to kill the other organism. But vaccines are the one which are generally used to prevent the transmission of the diseases or the virus or the infectious agent from one element to the other element. So vaccines are the one which are generally they can be given by means of intramuscular or intracutaneous, by means of injection or by the oral consumption. So they are the one which are preventing the disease or preventing the transmission of the disease from the infectious individual, either by means of oral, or it may be like by means of infection. So here we can also see that the increase in the soil fertility, and the soil fertility is generally increased by means of bacteria which are involved in a nitrogen cycle, and they are the one which are generally involved in the process of nitrogen fixation or biological nitrogen fixation. So here we can see the conversion of nitrogen into ammonia, and thereafter this ammonia is incorporated into plant body and further growth of the plant body. So coming to the cleaning of environment, so some of the students, you can observe that there is a pits in the school where we can dump our vegetable waste and also the waste of our food, so that they can be converted into organic manure after some days. So we can dig a pit in the school surroundings where we can dump all our especially the biodegradable substance can be dumped into the pit, and they can be closed for the conversion of the component into a simple organic component, which is nothing but called as manure formation. That is nothing but about the cleaning of the environment. So till now we have been discussing with the providing the beneficial part of the microorganism. Now we are going with the harmful part of the microorganism, like they are generally involved in disease causing unit. So there are many number of diseases generally caused by this microorganism. Most of them they comes under the condition called as commensable diseases. So the commensable diseases are like cholera, common cold, chicken pox, and also the tuberculosis. They are the very commensable because they are the one which has been transmitted for the infected individual to the other healthy individual. So commensable diseases are the one where we can see the microbial microbes are involved either from the sneezing, coughing, or from the air and the other body fluids which are coming from the infectious person. They are in some conditions we can see there is a contamination of the food and the water and the air, and also in rare condition we can also say there are some vectors and insects which are involved in transmitting the infection from the infected individual to the healthy individual. So these are the generally the carriers of the disease are nothing but the insects and the animals. So coming to disease generally causing the microorganisms which are causing disease in the animals. So there are number of human diseases generally caused by means of bacteria and viral causing agent. Here we can see the tuberculosis, measles, chickenpox, polio, cholera, typhoid, hepatitis A, and malaria. So they are the one which are generally caused by means of different kind of microorganisms like variety of bacteria, viruses, and also protozoans. So the mode of transmission may be the contaminated water or the air, and also we can see the preventive measures is nothing but we can to certain diseases we can generally prevent the spreading by means of prior vaccination of the individual. And here in cholera and the typhoid we have to maintain a very good personal hygienic condition and good sanitary habits and properly consuming the hygienic food and the water. Whereas in hepatitis B also hepatitis A also we can see that the drinking the boiled drinking water and also vaccination. So here in the food poisoning, so we should be very careful that when you are consuming the food, it should be very proper and hygienic. They should be prepared well and then and there. If you are consuming very like 1 or 2 days old food, that can generate some kind of bacterial contaminants, and the bacteria, it can lead to the food poisoning. And coming to the food preservation, generally in case of food preservation, we can say that the in case of food preservation, we can say that the generally the adding the salt and also jellies and the excess of sugars like jellies and oils to the pickles, we can say that they are very much involved in the food preservation. So here we can see that the pickles, jams, jellies, and also adding the oils and the salts, cooking, everything is a part of the preservation process. So some of the chemicals like benzoate and the sodium metabisulfate, they are generally added to preserve the food material, and also common salt, sugar and oil and vinegar, and heat and cold treatment. So here we can see constant heating and also preserving the items in the cold, that is refrigeration, will also leads to cold treatment. And coming to the storage and the package, here in case of proper storage and packing is also very important nowadays. Generally these days the dry fruits and even vegetables are sold in a sealed air packet, so that the contamination should not be occurred by means of air. And coming to nitrogen fixation, we can see the nitrogen fixation is the process where the conversion of atmospheric nitrogen is taking place into form of ammonia and nitrates and nitrates. So this kind of process is called as nitrogen fixation. And here this is about the nitrogen cycle, where we can see the atmospheric nitrogen has been converted into the components of different components of organic nitrogen present within the soil, which can be taken up by the plants, and also it can be eaten up by the animals by means of excretion. They can be given back as a component of nitrogen, that is organic nitrogen is given back to the soil. And finally there is a set of bacteria which will break down this nitrogenous organic component into a nitrogenous gas, and finally they will be given into the atmosphere. So this is about the nitrogenous cycle. So this is everything is about the overview of this every topic of this chapter. So coming to microorganisms, friends, and the foes. So here we are discussing that about the each and every topic in detail of this chapter 2 of the CBSE 8th standard biology. So here, what are microorganisms or microbes? The organism or the living organism which cannot be seen by the naked eye. So we require some kind of special assistant in the form of microscopy, so that we can observe the microorganisms or the microbes. So here this is about these are the ones which are generally called as microbes, and the element which you are using is called as microscopy, and and the other name is called as microorganism, and the study of microorganism is called as microbiology. So in day-to-day life we can see them everywhere and anywhere in our day-to-day life. So here we can see that in case of moist or rainy season, we can say the development of mushrooms, or whether it's a edible or non-edible mushrooms growing on the wooden logs and in the contaminated or moist areas, that is about the growth of the fungi. We can also see the stagnant water. If it is staying too much long for 1 or 2 days, we can see the development of green colors appearance, that is called as algae. And and we can use very minimum like magnifying glasses to see the rough figure of this particular microorganism which are present within the water, especially in the water and also surroundings. Here we can see that the water microorganisms are nothing but, here we can see the we can collect the water of the sample and we can observe them under a microscopy. Here we can see that whatever the group of microorganisms are, generally there are 5 major groups which are generally involved in this process. So the bacteria, fungi, protozoans and algae. Apart from that, we can also say that the viruses are the one which are the 5 groups which are coming under the category of microorganisms. So why? Because we require say microscopy for their observation. And here we can see the bacteria, fungi, protozoa, viruses, so they require very much sophisticated microorganism, but the algae is the one which is generally belonging to plant kingdom, but a microscopic algae is always belonging to microbiological world. And we can see the viruses. What are viruses? Generally the viruses are the microscopic organisms. They are very different when compared to other microorganisms because they are present on the borderline between the two areas. Means we can say that the viruses are the one which are on the borderline, and we can see that they are the one which are which when they are present out of the host, they are behaving like a non-living substance, or if they are present inside the host, they are behaving like a living substance. So here we can see the common cold, influenza, cough and everything, polio, chicken pox, everything, they are generally caused by the different kind of viruses, and they are generally present on the borderline. So they're generally present on the borderline between the two worlds, means living world and non-living world. And we can say that they are different kind of diseases generally caused by means of other organisms like protozoa and also protozoans, especially the malarial parasite, dysentery. They are the one which are harmful side of the microorganisms. And here we can see different kind of shapes, like these two are the one which are belonging to protozoans, and this is nothing but the common kind of mold which is appearing on the bread as a result of like appearing in the form of rhizophus, that is the bread mold. And penicillium is the one where we can see the production of the penicillin from the Penicillium notatum. So this is the organism which is nothing but called as penicillium. So this aspergillus, bread mold and penicillin, they are generally belonging to a organism, or generally belonging to category called as fungi, whereas these are the one which are belonging to a category called as protista or protozoans. And these chlamydomonans and spirogyra, they are the microscopic algae. And here we can see the different kind of shapes of the bacteria, like rod shaped bacteria called as bacillus, and sometimes different shapes like rod, and the spherical shape is called as cocci. So coming to the microorganisms, generally the microorganisms are the one which are playing a major role. So what are their roles, or how they are playing in as a part of our life? So how they are making our life very easy. And we can see these microorganisms are present in and around us, and they are having certain beneficial activity, like they are the friendly microorganisms which are basically involved in providing the good assistance to the human. So here we can see the friendly nature of the microorganism is nothing but they are involved in the cleaning up of the environment, that is removal of the organic waste generated as a result of domestic uses, and also the removal of the waste of the human, and that is human feces and also vegetable peel. Apart from that, they are also useful in converting, generally they are also useful in forming the soil fertility, that is the increasing the soil fertility in case of agriculture by means of nitrogen fixation, that is the conversion of nitrogen into nitrates and nitrates. So this kind of conversion is called as soil, it is nothing but called as nitrogen fixation, which is involved as a part of the soil fertility. So here we can see, and also for the conversion or the making of curd. So in case of making of the curd, we can see the conversion of milk into curd by means of lactobacillus. So by means of lactobacillus, generally it is the one which is involved in converting the milk into curd. And also we can see the conversion of that is the preparation of the bread. In case of bread, we can see the use of the yeast. So as the atta or dough is prepared, it will be incubated with the yeast, so that it can cause the breakdown of the sugars into simple sugars, and finally it also liberate the carbon dioxide as a result of the metabolism. So it can undergo aerobic respiration in case of the dough which is prepared for the bread and the slices, and it can involve in the breaking down of the sugars, especially simple sugars, into the complex. It can form it can convert the complex sugar into simple sugar and also carbon dioxide. So we can see the commercial use of microorganism. What are the basic commercial uses of microorganism? Here the formation of the alcohols, wines, and also generation of the alcohol like acetic acid, vinegar, and or the very much high commercial products which are obtained as a use of the microorganism. So alcoholic beverages include the alcohols and the wines, and also we can see the formation of acetic acid, that is the vinegar, which is a very food preservative, and these are the ones which are having a very good beneficiation of using the microorganisms in case of commercial output. And we can use the grains of the wheat, barley, and also the crushed fruit juices, or the like grape juice and grapes can be used to prepare different kind of alcohol by using the different kind of microorganisms. So this kind of process is called as fermentation, where it is the process of conversion of sugars into alcohol. So whatever the solution of the barley or the wheat and the fruit juices, that solution is subjected to the yeast, and the yeast is the one which is generally involved in using these sugars or simple sugars of this solution, and finally converting into them alcohol. And this process of conversion of alcohol from alcohol, that is the conversion of alcohol from the sugars, is nothing but called as a fermentation process. So fermentation process is nothing but it is involved in the formation of alcohol from the simple sugar is called as fermentation. And coming to the medicinal use of the microorganism, in case of medicinal use of microorganism, it is the antibiotics which is generally used or given to the patient who is suffering from the commensable diseases, that is especially the bacterial contamination or bacterial infection. So it may be the diarrhea, or it may be loose motion, or it may be the typhoid fever or enteric fever. In case of severe case of vomiting, diarrhea, and uneasiness and feverish condition, the people will be subjected or will be given with the antibiotics. So what are antibiotics? Antibiotics are nothing but it is the chemical compound which is obtained from the actinomycetes, that is the bacteria, or most of the time it is obtained from the fungi. So they are the one which are involved in providing, or it is killing the other organism. So whatever the harmful organism which is contaminating, or which is present in the contaminated food, or which is involved in infection, if you want to control that infectious organism, if you are giving a substance or a chemical substance to eradicate or remove that particular substance from the body, that kind of process is called as that component is called as antibiotic. And these antibiotics are all still they are the one which are killing the microorganism, but they are obtained from the microorganism. So especially it may be like fungi, that is the penicillium, and the bacteria which are belonging to actinomycetes group, that is streptomycin. And apart from the penicillin, we can also say some other antibiotics which are obtained from bacteria and fungi, or streptomycin, erythromycin, tetracycline. So these are the components which are obtained from the bacteria and fungi, but in turn they can be used under the against the other bacterial infection and also disease condition for the patient. So coming to the vaccine. So till now we have discussed about the antibiotics. They are the one which are involved in preventing very adverse conditions in case of patient who has already infected with the microorganism. But vaccines are the one which are involved in preventive measures. So nowadays in case of corona, we can see the person who has not even contaminated with the coronavirus, that is COVID-19, they are also given with the vaccine of COVID-19 vaccine. So why? Because to prevent the bacteria or to prevent the infection spreading to the healthy individual. So in case of vaccines, we can say that the individual has been given with the dead or weak microorganism intravenously, that is into the blood circulation, so that the person immune system can be educated, and thereafter the person won't get any kind of infectious condition. So in case of vaccination process, especially the recent vaccination, we can say the COVID-19 vaccination, it is the inactivated virus which has been given to the person. So here we can see they are the one which are educating the immune system, and they are the one which are involved in the process of elevating the immune system of the body. So what is the work of the immune system if they are given with the vaccine? It is the one which will be educated, and it is the one which is involved in the producing the antibodies. So antibodies generally produced in the body, they are the policeman of the body, which are involved in preventing the further spreading within the body. So the first person who has discovered the this particular vaccination process, or the is nothing but he is the person called as Edward Jenner. So he is the person who has studied in case of 1798 about this process. He has seen the people who are going for the milking of the cow, that is they have been infected with the cowpox, and thereafter he's seen that these people are resistant to the smallpox, which very deadly in those days. So whatever the pistols, means whatever the bumps which was developed on the skin as a result of cowpox on these people, he has collected that liquid and he has filtered and given to a child who is who has been given with that liquid, and thereafter for 6 to 7 days after, he has been exposed to the smallpox virus, and he came to conclusion that this person has been escaped that kind of infectious condition. So coming to increasing the soil fertility, in case of increasing the soil fertility, especially we are going to discuss about the nitrogen fixation. So what is nitrogen fixation? Nitrogen is the most abundant gas within the air. It can be constitute about 78%, and the nitrogen is the one which is an important component of the protein. So the formation of the protein either in the plant and plant body material, so that it can be later on used by the humans and animals. That kind of conversion is called as nitrogen fixation, where we can see the conversion of nitrogen into ammonia. So here we can see that the conversion of nitrogen from the atmospheric air into the other forms like ammonia and nitrate, that conversion is called as nitrogen fixation, that is especially involved in increasing the soil fertility. So this kind of bacteria, if it is involving, for example, rhizobium, then it is called as biological nitrogen fixation. Here and apart from increasing the soil fertility, we can also see that the cleaning of the environment. So in generally in the school we can see a manure pit, where we can see digging a person can dig the hole in presence of the school. We can see the throwing of all the vegetable waste, and the use biodegradable substance can be thrown into there. So the microorganisms main agent or main work is that they are involved in cleaning the environment, where we can see the breakdown of the plant and animal material, especially the excretion of the animals also can be broken down in this process. So here we can see the cleaning of environment, especially by means of gardeners and other people, where we can see cleaning of the experiment has been thoroughly made by means of this microorganism. So in case of sometimes we can see the decomposition and the conversion of this that is the component into manure, and this manure can be used by the scientists or the farmers to use as a manure for the plants. So coming to the next topic, that is about the harmful organisms. So what are harmful microorganisms? These are the ones which are causing disease condition, or they are causing some kind of fall in the yield in case of plants. So these are the ones which are harmful to the human, and humankind is called as harmful microorganisms. So they can cause the disease in case of humans and also animals and even plants also to some and they will cause the decrease in the productivity, and also they will cause the death of the organism in certain conditions. And here we can see some diseases are generally caused by the microorganisms in case of humans. So those diseases are coming under the condition called as commensable diseases. So what are commensable diseases? The disease which can be communicated between the unaffected individual and the infected individual. So if affected individual is there, if the disease is coming out of that person and it is spreading by means of certain media or some certain kind of insects like vectors, and they are passing on to other individual is called as commensable disease. So most of the tropical diseases are coming under the category of this commensable disease. So here we can see the person who is infected with a particular viral or a bacterial infection, if he is sneezing or if he is coughing, and if there is any oozing of body fluids, if you are coming in indirect or direct contact to that body fluids and the cough and the sneezing part, then you will be transmitted with this particular diseases. So here these animals, the insects and animals, are generally called as carriers of the diseases, that is the vectors. So the vectors are nothing but they are the carriers of the disease. Either most of the probably they will be the insects, especially the mosquitoes and the houseflies, which are generally involved in carrying the infectious agent, that is the bacteria or the fungi, from the infectious individual or from the infectious or contaminated part of the food or the water, and coming onto the coming and sitting onto the healthy individual, or transmitting by means of sucking the blood or sitting onto the food and the water and contaminating that one. So here the insects are the one which are carrier of the disease from one spot, that is from an infected and also contagious food and water onto the healthy individual by means of blood sucking, or it may be landing onto the proper food and the water. So these are nothing but the vectors which are generally involved in this disease causing. And these are the some of the human diseases which are in general used in day-to-day life, and these are the causative agent, general causative agent. This is the mode of transmission, and also this is about the preventive measures of the thing. So here we can see if it is tuberculosis, measles, chicken pox and the polio, here the bacteria is the one which is causing the tuberculosis, and all this set we can see these are the transmitted by means of air and the water and the contact. Here we can also say that we can prevent the tuberculosis, measles and the chicken pox, especially the polio also. They can be there's a preventive measures where we can see the vaccination and the vaccination of the individual with the particular vaccine to prevent the process. And here in case of cholera and typhoid, generally they are because of the contamination of the food and water, and the water because by the polluted water, or that is especially domestic pollution, or the human feces contamination. And here the bacteria is the one which is generally the causative agent, and this can be prevented by means of vaccination process, cholera vaccine, and also by means of maintaining the personal hygienic condition, and also having a proper food and hygienic food on time, and having the boiled drinkable water. And coming to hepatitis A is the one which is caused by means of virus, and this hepatitis is also transmitted by means of water. It is generally prevented by means of drinking of boiled water, and also by the vaccination of the hepatitis. And coming to the malaria, here we can see it is generally transmitted by means of mosquito, which is the mode of transmitter, that is the vector. And we can see the causative agent is belonging to protozoan, and it is called as malarial parasite, and it is the causative agent of a condition or disease called as malaria. And we can use certain preventive measures, because the mosquito, if it is infected or if it is contaminated with the malarial parasite, if the mosquito is traveling in the air, you can use the mosquito repellent or the mosquito nets to drive away the mosquitoes, and thereafter not allowing if the mosquitoes are not allowed to bite the individual humans, then they are not allowed to, or for the contamination to be taken place. That is generally we can say the spreading of the disease. And coming to the disease causing microorganisms in the animals, we can see that generally there are a number of diseases are generally causing deadly diseases, especially the anthrax, and also in case of that is generally involved in causing the disease in humans and the cattle. And also we can see one of the most common diseases, generally foot and mouth disease caused within the cattle. So these are the number of diseases which are generally discussed under the disease causing microorganism in case of animals. And here we can one of the most eminent person which we are going to discuss is about the Robert Koch. So here he is the person who is generally proposed the theory of contagious disease, where he has constructed theory and some of the principle for the disease, for naming a particular condition as a disease, and naming a person, naming an individual with a causative agent. So he has framed some principles about the disease condition and about the causative agent of the disease condition. And he has discussed very well about the Bacillus anthrax, which is a causative agent of the anthrax disease in case of cattle and the humans. And he has laid down some principles and designed some conditions for discussing one certain conditions as a disease condition and also causative agents. Here we can see the disease causing microorganism, especially the plants. Here we can see the disease are generally there are number of diseases which are generally caused in the plants, like oranges, sugarcane, apple and other plants are the one which are caused by means of these microorganisms in the plants. Here we can see example like citrus canker, rust of wheat, and also mosaic pattern of the mosaic pattern, that is the viruses. Here we can see these are the plant diseases and these are the microorganisms which are general, and the mode of transmission is mostly the air, and also because of the insects and the seedling, if there is a contamination of this particular organism in case of seedling. And coming to what is food poisoning, as a children you should be very careful in consuming the food, whether it's a stale food, that is if it is a very contagious, means if the food is not prepared hygienic with the hygienic ingredients in hygienic place, you can have a chance of getting the food poisoning, because the food, if it is not prepared properly, it can be contaminated with the bacteria and the fungi, and most probably viruses like hepatitis A virus and hepatitis B virus. So it is very important for the person to make sure that the food should be very hygienic, and in case of conditions, if you are having any food poisoning, or that is the food, if it is contaminated with the microorganism, it can release some kind of toxic substance into microorganism, and it leads to the food poisoning. So here this can lead to certain conditions like vomiting, diarrhea, and also in case in adverse condition they should be taken to the hospital for the treatment with the antibiotics. So this is about the food poisoning, and you should be very careful about the food poisoning, that is the in case of consumption, and also taking the food material and the water in a proper way. So the food poisoning is the where we can see that if the food has been contaminated with the toxic material of the microbes and the excess of microbial load, that leads to the food poisoning. So coming to the food preservation, so in case of food preservation, we have to discuss about this chapter. It's very important nowadays, because as we are growing in case of population, and as the demand is increasing, and the supply should be increased. So in order to maintain the proper supply according to the season and according to the different cultures of this country, there should be a very proper preservation techniques to be obtained, so that we can have the food supply without any shortage all the seasons of the year, and also in to the each and every part of the country. So here generally in case of food preservation, you should be keeping in mind that the moisture content of the food also plays a major role. So if the moisture content should be brought down less than 12 or 11% in the food, so that to avoid the contamination by means of bacteria and also especially the fungi. So this can be this is the one of the major factor that is the decreasing of the moisture. How we can decrease the moisture? By subjecting to the artificial dryers like desiccators, and also for the sunrise, that is the exposing to the sun. So by this we can decrease the moisture content of the food, and also we can preserve the food for the longer period of time. So you can have a doubt that when you are consuming a tomato, whatever the juice which you prepare in tomato juice in the home, you can hardly maintain for one day. But how you can think that a tomato sauce can be maintained so many years, or so many roughly 3 to 4 months. So there is a technique which is behind the preserving the tomato sauce in the bottles by the company, whereas we don't use any kind of techniques for preserving that particular tomato juice in the house. So how it is possible the same tomato juice it is spoiled within one day in case of our homes, and how we can maintain that for 3 to 4 months of a shelf life? So the answer behind them is the some of the preserving techniques where we generally use in the modern days. So here we can see the chemical methods like using the preservatives, and the process is called as preservation, where we can use different kind of chemicals like benzoate and sodium metabisulfate. They are the chemical components which are used as a chemical agent to inhibit the growth of the fungi and bacteria, and thereafter causing the food to remain fresh for longer period of time. So they are the chemicals which are generally involved in checking or to keep check on the growth of the microbes. Here we can see the preservation of by means of common salt. Here we can see that whatever the preservation is there, that preservation by the common salt is like pickles and also some salads, where we can see excess of salt is one of the technique to decrease the moisture within the content. And also we can use the the sugars like jam, jellies, and the other things where excess of concentration of sugars can be used to inhibit the growth of the microbes. And we can also say that the using by means of vinegar and oils in case of maintaining some kind of food items, we can use like especially the vinegar, which is acetic acid, so that the to maintain the acidic condition of the food, so that the bacteria, most of the bacteria and fungi won't grow on the things. So here we can see the excess of oil can be used in the Indian tradition for preserving the pickles for longer period of time. And we can see the heat and cold treatment. So in case of preserving the milk, so you can see your mother who can frequently boil the milk for 1 to 2 times per day, so that to preserve the milk from today to tomorrow. So that is about the heat treatment. And coming to cold treatment, whatever the vegetables and the fruits we will get from the market, to preserve them for longer period of time, we will store in the fridge. Why? Because the cold temperature is the one which will avoid the growth of the bacteria. So whatever the temperature, if it is maintained less than 4 degrees, most of the ambient or the normal bacteria and fungi which is growing in normal temperatures, it won't grow in the refrigeration because of very low temperature here. And apart from that, we used to heard on the packet. So when you see on the milk packet, we can see the pasteurized milk. So what is pasteurized milk? It is nothing but it's about the exposing the dairy and the dairy products especially to a very high temperature in a very short period of time. So in a short period of time, if you are exposing to very high temperature like 70 and above temperature in a short period of time like 15 to 30 minutes, that kind of condition is called as pasteurization. And it has been discovered by means of Louis Pasteur, and this process is called as pasteurization, and it's widely used and most prone process in case of pasteurization of the milk and the milk products. So apart from maintaining this standard condition, it's very much important that storage and also packing is very important. So storing in a proper aeration and proper away from the sunlight and proper packing of the food material substance, that is the very much important for knowing about the storage and the package of the food. So it should be very much properly stored and packed in such a way that it can prevent the growth of the microbes and the attack of the microbes and the microorganisms. So coming to the sixth topic of this chapter, that is about the nitrogen fixation. So when you are coming or discussing about what is the composition of nitrogen in the atmosphere, that is 78%. So the 78% is the percentage of the nitrogen present within the air. It's a very abundant gas present in the air. But this gas it is very important for the gas to be converted into usable forms like nitrates, nitrites, and ammonia. So the conversion of this nitrogen gas, so the nitrogen gas has been converted into ammonia. So this conversion of nitrogen gas into ammonia is called as nitrogen fixation, and if it is taking place by means of biological agent, that is called as biological nitrogen fixation, or if it is done by means of electrical discharge, that is by means of industry, that is called as industrial nitrogen fixation. So in case of industrial nitrogen fixation is the process where we can see the conversion of nitrogen into ammonium ion. So here, and this is generally taking place in case of bacteria called as rhizobium, and that is present within the root nodules of the plant. So if you are seeing any pea plant or any kind of groundnut or the Fabaceae family, so the family which are involved in providing the grains for you, especially the pulses. So those plants under when they are growing, during the growth state, whatever the root system is there, that root system, if they are having the root nodule, so the root nodules are nothing but called as rhizobium bacteria. They are the one which are involved in converting the nitrogen, that is the atmospheric nitrogen, into ammonia. So this ammonia which is converted by this bacteria, it can be taken into the root system of the plant, and finally it can be used by the plant. So here in case of nitrogen fixation, it is generally taken place in case of rhizobium, which is taking place as a part of the life cycle of these plants like pea plant and the groundnut plant, where we can see the conversion of atmospheric nitrogen into ammonia, and this ammonia is finally it is used by the plant. Here we can see in case of nitrogen cycle is the one which is generally explaining about entire things. So here this is the root system of the leguminous family, that is the plants which are belonging to the where they are belonging to the having the having a symbiosis with the bacteria and with the other species of bacteria involved in fixing the nitrogen into ammonia. So those plants are called as Leguminosae family, especially the ones which are like beans family and also legume family. So they are the one which are forming the root nodules with the roots of this leguminous plant. So these root nodules are the home for the bacteria called as rhizobium bacteria. Here we can see the atmospheric nitrogen that is present in the form of nitrogen gas. Okay, this nitrogen gas, by means of lighting, naturally it can be converted into the components of nitrogen present within the soil, or it can be by means of by means of nitrogen fixation, that is the bacteria can be involved, and this bacteria is the one which is involved in converting the nitrogen into some of the usable form of nitrogen, that is especially the nitrogenous components. So what are nitrogenous components? The nitrogenous components can be ammonia, nitrate and nitrates. So these are the nitrogenous compounds which are generally formed as a result of conversion of atmospheric nitrogen into this component. So these components, which are nothing but called as organic nitrogenous component, they are called as components of nitrogen. So whatever the components of nitrogen in soil is nothing but the all variety of nitrogenous atoms when they are present within the soil, those are nothing but called as the component of nitrogen. The whole and sole nitrogen and component present within the soil is called as nitrogenous component in the soil. So they include the ammonia, nitrate and nitrates. So these are the one which are generally formed from the atmospheric nitrogen. Here this one is generally directly used by the plant by absorption or by absorption by the roots, and they can be assimilated within the plant body, and by using or by feeding on the plant, the animals are the one which are feeding on the plant, they will obtain the nitrogen in the form of proteins and also ammonia and nitrate. And thereafter, because of the excretion of the animals, that nitrogenous form either in the form of ammonia or urea or uric acid, they will be again coming back. So they will be coming back as a result of by means of digestion process as in the form of nitrogenous waste from the animals in the form of excretion, and sometimes it may be in the form of death material. So because of the death of the animal, so as a result the nitrogen again it will flow and it will maintain the nitrogenous component of the soil. So the soil's nitrogen component is generally maintained because of the uptake of the plant, uptake of nitrogen by the plant, and eating of plants, that is animals eating the plants, and also the nitrogenous waste which is generally coming back by means of excretion and the death. And finally these components which are present within the nitrogen in the soil, it will be converted. So there is another set of bacteria. So these are nothing but the nitrogen fixing bacteria, whereas these are the set of bacteria which was involved in converting the ammonia, nitrates and nitrates and finally into nitrogenous gas. So the bacteria which are generally involved in converting this the compound nitrogen present within the soil, that is in the form of urea, uric acid, ammonia, nitrates and nitrates. So they are the different forms of nitrogen present within the soil, so they are called as compound nitrogen present within the soil, and the bacteria is generally involved in breaking down of all these components into the nitrogenous gas. So this process is an reverse process to the nitrogen biological fixation, and there are certain bacteria which are involved or breaking down these components of nitrogen and finally converting this whatever the soluble form of nitrogen, that is the solid form of nitrogen, into the nitrogenous gas, that is N2. So this entire cycle is called as nitrogen cycle, which is very important for maintaining the soil fertility, the growth of the plant, and also in maintaining the biomass and also productivity of the plant. Thereafter, always we can see there is an integration of animals, plants, bacteria, the air and the soil, or completely the complete ecosystem has been integrated here as a result of this particular explanation in the nitrogenous cycle. So this is the end of this chapter where we explained each and every topic in detail. So coming to the summary of the second chapter, that is about the microorganisms and the friends and the foes. So here we can see that the microorganisms are the one which are generally seen only by the microscopy, which is an instrument to see these microorganisms. So they are called as microbes, and we can say that they cannot be seen by the naked eye. So the groups which are involved here, they are the like bacteria, fungi, protozoans, and viruses. But apart from the algae, in case of algae, they are unicellular microscopic algae, which can be termed as a microorganisms. So these are the different examples which are belonging to microorganism. They may be the protozoans like amoeba, paramecium, and also fungi like bread mold, that is rhizophus, and also penicillium, aspergillus, chlamydomonas, and spirogyra. They are different members which are belonging to this one. And here we can also see the different kind of virus. So this is the virus which are specialized in infecting the bacteria, and this is the virus which is equivalent to the polio virus. So these are the viruses which are present within the borderline of the living and the non-living. And where do these microorganisms live? Then generally there are two different microorganisms. One are the single-celled unicellular microorganisms like all the bacteria and some fungi, some algae, protozoans, and all the viruses. So these are the coming under the single cell, that is unicellular, and they can live from wide range of habitat, from very cold condition to very hot springs. And we can also see some kind of multicellular algae and fungi are the one which are generally involved in this process. And coming to the microorganisms, which are present in and around. So in and around whatever the microorganisms they are generally friendly microorganisms which are involved in this process. So they are involved in the cleaning up of the environment, that is ecological cleaning, where we can see they are involved in breaking down the debris of the plant and animals, excretion of the animals, and also dead materials of the animals. Here we can see even the conversion of the curd, that is the curdling of the milk, is also because of the lactobacillus. And we can see that in case of yeast, that is in case of bakery and the bakery items, the yeast is the very much important ingredient which is involved in breaking the complex sugars into simple sugars by the release of carbon dioxide, and it's very much important in turning the dough into a soft one. And here we can also, the commercial use is then production of vinegar, alcohol, and wine, acetic acid. So these are the n number of productions by means of commercial scale. And coming to fermentation process, we can see the fermentation process is the one where we can see conversion of simple sugar into alcoholic form, and this alcohol is having a smell of fragrance of chemical, that is fruity smell. That kind of conversion of by means of so the conversion of simple sugar into alcohol is called as fermentation process. So all the alcohols which we are getting, they will be they are the product of the fermentation, that is by means of microorganism. But only change in case of wines and other alcoholic beverages is changing the starting material. So if it's a barley, rice, wheat, and grape juice, that is the one which is changing the end product. So coming to antibiotics, so generally the medical use is nothing but it's about antibiotics which can be even given in a single form or a mixed form in order to eradicate the disease condition in the livestock, plants, animals, and even human beings. And vaccines are the one which are generally involved in they are the dead and the weak organism which are in the imposter of the original organism, and they are the one which are generally given subcutaneous to the body, into the blood, so that we can evoke or provoke the immune system, so that the immune system can react when there is original bacteria is coming into the body. So increasing the soil fertility is like conversion of atmospheric nitrogen into ammonia is called as biological nitrogen fixation. And coming to the cleaning of environment, we can see in the gardens and in the home we can create a pit for dumping of all the vegetable waste, and where we can see the conversion of them into manure. And here we can see the harmful microorganisms or the one which are involved in causing the disease to the humans, animals, and other plants. Here we can see the disease causing microorganism, especially commensable diseases, or the one where we can see the spreading of disease from one bacteria to the from one individual of infection individual to the uninfected individual. Here we can also say the vectors or the carriers of the disease, or the one which are generally they can be the insects or the mosquitoes in case of malaria, where they are carrying the infectious agent, that is the microorganism, from the infectious individual to the uninfectious or the healthy individual. Here these are the list of organisms like diseases, causative agent, and also mode of transmission and preventive measures. Here we can see disease generally causing the microorganisms in the animals, and also disease which are causing a microorganism in case of plants. So here the food poisoning is the one where, because of unhygienic condition of preparing the food and the using unhygienic water, we can see the food poisoning is the one because of overload of bacteria and fungi in the food, or it may be raw meat, or it may be use of unhygienic conditions. So try to avoid the food which is generally cooked in the areas where it is unhygienic, and so that to avoid these conditions. And food preservation is the one where we have to see that in current situation of growth in the population, there should be a steady supply of food, so there should not be any spoilage. They should be prepared properly, and not even the production and manufacturer level, even in the preservation, during the preservation of the food, during the transportation and during the storage, proper storage or the proper preservation of the food should be taken. Here we can use some chemicals like benzoate or the sodium metabisulfate as a preservative, and also common salts, sugars, oils and vinegars. Heat and cold treatment are the one where we can see the proper process of preservation. In case of pasteurization is the process where it is used for the milk and milk dairy, where for a shorter duration like 15 to 30 minutes, very high temperature, that is the boiling, is the one which is causing the breakdown of the bacteria and the bacteria infection. So while means of boiling more than 70 degrees centigrade, we can leads to the pasteurization. And coming to nitrogen fixation, here in case of nitrogen fixation, we can see the nitrogen cycle is very important for converting the nitrogenous gas into that is the components of nitrogen, organic nitrogen present within the soil. So this entire conversion is called as biological nitrogen, whereas reverse form is the one where the organic form of the solid nitrogen has been converted into atmospheric nitrogen by means of denitrification. So this is about the nitrogen cycle, which is very important for soil fertility and also maintaining the proper constraints of the soil. That is the nitrogen which is present in the atmospheric gas has been maintained in the form of soluble solid form, that is ammonia, nitrate and uric acid. So here this is the end of the chapter. So whatever we discuss, this is about the in detail of the chapter overview, detail, and also summarization of each and every topic. If you like this video, share and subscribe and also share with your friends. If you have any questions, write down in the comment box. And also if you having any worry with the concepts, you can go back to the video and press the bell icon so that you can get a very good notification for every upload of the video. Thank you for watching.